finished with a recommendation. At the present, the ISSP is a good-sized building. I recommend you to let it become a skyscraper. I hope in 50 years, ISSP will be a skyscraper, a very consistent and functional skyscraper. So this is the ideas I wanted to collect from the previous past presidents, and now I give the word to Gershon Tenenbaum. Thank you very much.
That's enough. Thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity to share with you some personal emotions of mine, to see Lars, to see Glenn, to see Gloria. When I just was a young graduate student and decided to shift from methodology to sports psychology, I met these people, and then in the first row I see the young generation. I don't know Glenn and Gloria and Lars, how do you feel? But I feel great to see the young generation go to the future, take us and depart us for the future. So I don't feel as old as the second row. I don't feel young as the first row. I'm somewhere in between. So, right, Keith, you look too serious. I have to say that I read with a lot of attention an email that Glenn sent a few weeks ago, emphasizing the past, the present, and the future. And I was thinking, wow, this is a good beginning for us as president to start. Where we were, what was the main area of research and application at the time in the 80s? And then what is it today and where are we going? And I think I have the feeling now, I'm happy that I've attended the Italian speakers who gave us the future just at the first presentation and second, and then I went to Bertolo and felt like in space, really the next generation. Putting technology together with application. But where did it start? It started when I came to the field, really, we were asking ourselves, what is really sports psychology? Some of the scholars came from kinesiology, exercise science, and some came from psychology. And especially in the United States, I feel that there still is a debate what a sports psychology should know. More kinesiology, more psychology. What is the mother domain behind our discipline? And I think that from kinesiology and exercise sciences integrated into psychology came the sport and exercise psychology. And since then, there are many developments, very interesting ones. So we were fighting, looking, seeking for our identity. And the first identity, the first questions there, when I was at that time in Chicago and I took the first issues of the Journal of Sports Psychology, most of the studies were looking for the personality profile that can predict the future champions from a mental point of view. People took, at that time, not the big five personality trait. They took the MMPI that came from clinical psychology. They took the 16PF that Cattell developed in Illinois in the 60s, and they tried to profile who are the best wrestlers in the world, who are the best football players in the world, and you could see a lot of things. And of course, as a young discipline, they came to a zero prediction. They came actually to the conclusion that you can have different profile of personalities that are unrelated to sport at all and become a champion or Olympic gold medal. So I put together some kind of personality. This was the trend in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Then, of course, came the era of theories. because the identity was established. And then we ask, well, if psychology doesn't give us all the answers, then we have to develop something that is sport-specific, exercise-specific inventories or theories. And then came, I'm calling it the area of theories, behaviorism, motivation, emotion, cognition. So you could see more publication, more work that has been done with developing specific inventories, specific models that are adjusted from psychology into the specific domain of sport. Keep in mind that sport and exercise in America today is distinguished from each other. In Europe, in the German language, my colleagues told me that sport and exercise are embedded within the same term. They don't distinguish it. So in this case, I think throughout the year, a split happened, and I will talk about it in a minute, and the emergence of perception cognition, which means that, oh, now we are not just motivated, we are not just feeling different emotions, we also think, we also perceive, we also make decisions, we also anticipate, we also alter decisions when they are needed to be changed. So the cognitive era has emerged in psychology and in sport psychology as well. So we had some kind of a model testing in social psychology, social sport psychology, models in cognitive social psychology, and so on and so forth. And then came, especially within the American society, the split between sport psychology and dynamical system. NASPA was created based on sport psychology, motor control, and motor learning and development. Until today, the structure is this structure, but the people who go to the different sessions talk different languages. If you read articles in dynamical systems, ecological psychology, they talk completely different terminology than sport psychology. So this is the first split that happened in our field. So the second split was within ourselves. Exercise psychologists are devoting their time to research on how exercise affects health, how exercise affects cognitive deterioration in the elderly, how exercise affects executive functioning, how exercise is used as medicine. And sport psychologists are talking more about how performers should perform. What is the mental state for better performance? So I see here sport psychology versus dynamical system, and within our field, sport psychology versus exercise psychology. And expand the scope nowadays from sport psychology to performance psychology, which means that our field is about performing not only in sport. Astronaut, surgeon, lawyers, they also perform. And we can really seeking or looking for a theory that combines maybe performance psychology principles across domains and disciplines. And now we have the emergence, we saw yesterday, the emergence of MRI, EEG. You can really, in parallel, measure the brain, break down the brain. And I think that what is missing today is that the technology actually is more advanced than our knowledge is. So we can see how the brain works, but we cannot explain what it means. Why? Because in these waves, for example, we don't see mental representation. And I know that when I see you, I can recognize you. And the recognition is based on some kind of neural information that is inherent in the nervous system. But these waves don't show me the picture, or these waves don't show me the knowledge that athletes gain when they play the game. How come they always do some of them are making the right decision and some of them are making errors? So this gives us the underlying mechanism in a neural fashion, and we have to tie it more to the cognitive process, to the mental representation that govern the visual attention, the anticipation, the selection, the decision making and the decision alteration, and finally the performance. So these are nice tools, great technology, and I think that in the last few, in the first and second sessions of this seminar, you showed us really the advances in this field. It was great. I was very impressed. And now comes the genetics, the breakdown of the DNA. The so complicated, the supercomputer help us to break the DNA. So on one hand, we have neuroscience, on the other hand, we have genetics, and on the third side, we have ourselves that feel always that we don't know almost anything. So the genetic basis of athletic performance, look on Phelps. Height 6'4", wingspan 6'7", which means that when he opens his hands, it's longer than his height. Torso 6'8", leg 6, big hands, size. Look at him, giant feet. He is going to the store 14 size. He takes shoes 14, like twice as big as mine. And so on and so forth. So really, we ask ourselves, within our what is the gene environment point of view? Where are we standing? Are we a product of the genetic makeup, or are we a product of the environment? So the 19th century discussion of environment and genetics come back. So take a look. He feels better with the dolphins than with us. And as you can see here, karyotypes of male and females, just the XX and the XY, and this was just the beginning. And today we have the DNA molecule of life with chromosomes and DNA and gene, and the expression are different. So we can have the same genetic makeup, but the expression of our genes are different. So we have to include in our model the genetic makeup, the environmental makeup, the perception of our world, along with neuroscience. How to do it? I'm happy that I'm old. I leave it to the young generation. Lots of information, lots of information. That's how the gene map looks like. And I'm leaving the rest to Dieter. Dieter have much more answer than me. I have more question, he have more answer.